Hi there, thanks for joining me. I'm going to be reading The Lady of Death Valley, written by Stephanie DeWolfe, who's also me. I'm going to start with the back of the book, and then I'm going to open the book and read the foreword, and then we'll get on with the chapters, okay? Based on a true person, Kathy finds herself spending her afterlife in the hauntingly beautiful Death Valley in the Mojave Desert of Southern California. As she gains control of her form, she quickly befriends and helps the varied wildlife and travelers that are abundant all around her. Written in the same fashion that she would write journals in real life, you will get a glimpse into the quirky and sweet personality that this character is in honor of, and join in her first-hand accounts of daring rescues, silly pranks, and interesting observations. Forward. Kathy was an intense person with a giant heart. Her love was so big and open, and it left an indelible mark upon anyone close enough to receive it. She loved her family, her children, and her desert home. Many of my childhood memories of my mom are of her wandering the desert with us, showing us all the abundance that was around. The other prominent memories of her were when she would help others. Newberry Springs is a town located off of two major highways in Southern California, and we received a pretty regular stream of people who would get stranded and need a place to stay, as well as other less savory people who couldn't find places to sleep elsewhere. We would have no food in the fridge and still take in another family because we happened to be lucky enough to have a roof over our heads at that time. She taught us love, she taught us freedom, she taught us eternalness, and she taught us to always look for the positive in life, and when you can't seem to do that, go for a desert drive. She taught us that family was more important than anything. She taught us to go forth and blaze our own trails, even if we burn out. She taught us how important it is to be together. She taught us comedy, and she taught us how to laugh our way through what life dishes out. She was an incredible force of nature, and she has missed every minute of every single day. Chapter 1. The Lady Lives. My name is Kathy. I am the Lady of Death Valley, and this is my story. The past few days have been really rough and confusing. A few days ago, I got in a fight with someone that ended my physical experience. Once I realized I was dead, I kind of freaked out and couldn't control my new form. Things have leveled out now, and I can get around pretty easily. I'm still learning what I can and can't do, but it has gotten much easier since my passing. Today, I was able to go visit with my family. They can't see me, but I can see them, and they don't even know that I'm gone yet. I have a habit of going off-grid often, and I'm not surprised they haven't noticed. My sons are so kind, and my daughter is so sweet. My 3-year-old grandson is the only one who can communicate with me. He babbles, and no one pays any attention, but I understand him perfectly fine. Before all of this, I couldn't comprehend the endless chatter, but now it makes perfect sense. I really like this part of being in this place. It's almost dark on my 4th night in Death Valley. There are a lot of different critters running around, and they can see me. I'm hoping I can communicate with them the way I can with my grandson. The wind has picked up, and even though I can feel it flow through me, I'm not cold. But I'm not hot either. I'm cozy. The sun is setting over the Panamint Range, and the Funeral Mountains are in my background. Talk about irony. Tonight's moon is rising in the east over Pyramid Peak. Just a faint sliver of silver, but enough to reflect light and show all of the pale-colored objects in the twilight. I can hear the distant rumble of a train, and there is a solo vehicle driving towards Furnace Creek. As I look towards the peak, I can see a herd of bighorn sheep hastily making their way through the mountain to get home before dark. As the group runs out of my line of vision, my eye catches a tiny white spot on the mountain. It's moving quickly but going nowhere. As I start to focus on the object, I find myself gently floating through the wind in the direction of the white moving mass. The wind is flowing through me, and I feel so flowy and calm. As I close in on the location where I saw the movements, I can tell that it's a baby bighorn sheep that was left behind. He's thrashing around and is wildly upset about his situation. I slowly move in to take a better look, unsure of why he hasn't run off to be with the others. Our eyes meet and he calms down immediately. We can't communicate, but he looks down at his hooves, and I can see that one is stuck in the crevice between 2 big rocks. I reach down and, surprisingly, without any effort, I gently move the rocks apart and his hoof is free. He nuzzles my form, and then I watch him run off to catch up with his herd. I gently place the rocks back together, and now I'm just enjoying the gorgeous view of my spot and loving my newfound strength. I love that I can move objects without effort. I really like this part of being in this place. Standing here in the dark among these wild and jaggedy mountains has to be one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. The sparkly clear stars are spanning an everlasting black velvet sky. twinkling with excitement, and the wind is softly blowing the glittery white sand across the long, lonely road. Darkness has completely set in, and the wind is picking up. I need to get back to my spot, so I focus, and then the floating begins. I realize that the harder I focus, the faster I go. When I soften my focus, I slowly float around the empty desert, exploring this massive, desolate, but beautiful valley. This is really amazing. I'm slowly floating all the way back to my spot, stopping to see creatures and beautiful landscapes all along the way. Deep canyons and shallow lake beds, wildflowers and creosote, high peaks and rolling soft sand dunes. I just got home in time to watch the sunrise over Pyramid Peak. I really like this part of being in this place. I think I'll go visit my mama today. Chapter 2. Lend a Helping Hand. I just got back to my spot after visiting my mom and my siblings this week. I just love them all so much. I've been able to see everyone much easier than I could in my physical form. The children can see me and we have the most amazing conversations. Being able to move objects to help them or play tricks on them is so much fun I can barely stand it. I really like this part of being in this place. Twilight in the valley has quickly become my favorite time of the day. The travelers are few and far between, and the critters are heading to their homes, and the night sky is like a soft cerulean blue velour blanket being slowly pulled over the desert as if we were all being tucked in. The full moon will be here in a few days, and I can't wait to see my spot and the entire park all lit up from the bright, unobstructed moonlight. It will be so dreamy. I spent most of the last few nights just roaming the desert. I figured out how to control my float to where it's more like a flight. I can start on the valley floor at Badwater Basin and fly to the top of Telescope Peak and touch base for a few seconds before jumping over to Darwin Falls to stand in the pool and lean against the rocks and let the waterfall flow through my form. It feels exquisite. The energy that flows through me from the waterfall is rushing fast and smooth and invigorating. I don't get cold and I don't get hot. I'm always cozy, even standing in a pond in December. I really like this part of being in this place. Tonight I'm walking along Artist Road and just taking in the magical night sights and sounds. It's eerily quiet tonight and the wind is very light. I can see a faint glow in the distance from the lights of Las Vegas, and the contrast from the darkened mountains in the front really define the peaks and ridges. It's a truly spectacular sight. I've been walking and dancing around in the road for a few hours now, and some of the desert creatures have really warmed up to me. There are a couple of furry little foxes that follow me at a safe distance, and a bobcat who gets very excited and rushes to crash into my form when I come near. Have you ever heard a bobcat purr? It's the most adorable thing ever, I promise. Besides my grandson, of course. The moon is pretty bright tonight, and the stars are like shimmery pieces of broken glass in the background. There are a few wispy white clouds floating slowly past. What a lovely thing to see. If I had looked up at any other moment, I would have missed it. I see lights in the distance, and the animals flee to safety of the creosote bushes and the sagebrush. The car is moving toward me, but very slowly and very loudly. The driver can't see me, so I float to get closer and see what's going on. As I approach, I can see that the only person in the car is an adorable little elderly woman who is cursing her heart out. I look around the car and see that the passenger side back tire is blown, and she's driving on it anyways. That's not good. Finally, she pulls over to a safe spot and gets out. She's hopping mad but not distressed, so I'm just observing. I hope she's okay. I can't imagine why she would be all the way out here at night by herself, and I hope she has the stuff to fix her tire. She'll probably have to wait until the morning light. She gets back in her car and picks up her phone. There's no service out here. She throws the phone and starts cursing to the sky. She starts praying for help, but I don't know how to help her. She's crying and the animals are getting sad with her. She finally calms down and goes to sleep. I stay close to make sure she stays safe. Artist's palette is revealed as the sky shifts from darkness to dawn. The colors are absolutely unbelievable. The animals return to their homes, and as I go to float back to my spot, I see her awaken and dig in her glove box. She pulls out a little book and goes to the trunk. Within a few minutes, she has her trunk opening and is trying to get the spare tire out. It's awkward because it's heavy, and she's short. She's cussing again. I think I love her. I go to her, and with no effort at all, I help her get the tire out and onto the ground. She feels like a superhero. I help her take the old one off and put the new one on. I had to help her with the lug nuts, too, because she didn't have good hand strength. She is so excited. She feels like a modern-day Annie Oakley. It's so fun to watch her be so confident. She gets in the car and happily drives off to safety. I'll never know why she was out here, but I sure hope I see her again. Helping her brought me tremendous joy. I really like this part of being in this place. Heading back to my spot, I take my time to view the many different kinds of plants and animals all around. Death Valley is teeming with life. I'm back at my spot just in time to watch the pink and orange sun slowly rise over Pyramid Peak and plan out my day. I think I'm going to visit my best friend from high school today. Chapter 3 Billy's Bobcat. My visit with my best friend was really fun. I followed her to the beach and watched her children play in the water and sing beautiful songs. Her grandchildren are so charming, and they really enjoyed telling me all about their lives and their favorite toys. She has a happy life, and that brings me so much fulfillment. Getting to spend so much time with my loved ones has been a really cool part of all of this. I never feel rushed, and I can just go back the next day. It's very windy tonight, and the creosote bushes are all gangster leaning to one side with an occasional directional change, making it look like round people dancing in unison. It's quite a funny sight to see. There are no cars on the road tonight, only sand, and all of the critters have already taken cover. Feels like it's just me and the mountains on this most boisterous night. I'm just going to settle in at my spot and watch the sandstorm move through the valley. I'm not affected by the weather, but I can feel the force of the energy in the wind. It blows wildly through me and continues on its way through the isolated landscape. It feels strong but calming. I really like this part of being in this place. Throughout the long night, I stay still, just watching and observing and feeling and listening. The wind can whip up some tricky sounds, making you think you hear things you don't. So when I heard the faint whine in the distance, I just thought my mind was playing tricks on me. As the night went on and the wind subsided, I could still hear the sound of something crying in the distance. I focused on the area the sound was coming from and found myself on the edge of the Billy mine looking down into a deep, dark abyss. I heard a quiet whimper and looked deeper into the mine. As I got closer to the sound, I could tell that it was my sweet little bobcat friend. Our eyes met and he instantly calmed down. He seems quite mischievous, so I'm not surprised to find him here at all. What did they say about cats and curiosity? I forget. He starts purring loudly, and I float closer to him. He gets excited and crashes into my form. It's such a good feeling to connect with his energy. I can't exactly move him. I can't interact with physical beings, just inanimate objects. So I look around the bottom of the mine shaft for something to help lift him out of the hole. There are rocks, but they're all very small. Some sticks, but they're all very thin. I'm wistfully making my way through the winding tunnels, looking for a piece of scrap wood or some kind of something to hold him so I can move him. The mine has been thoroughly cleaned out, and I can't find a single thing. He's still following closely behind me, cautious but purring. It's so dang cute. Finally, at the bottom of the mine shaft, I see a cart, so I have the little bobcat hop in, and just like a kitten in a basket, he curls up as I gently carry him and this giant hunk of metal softly through the maze of rocks. We reach the opening right as dawn has started to set in. The birds are chirping, and the rodents are scrambling across the open desert. The travelers have started to move around, and the owners of the mine have awoken. I let my sweet kitty friend out, and he nuzzles my form before running off to the back of his family. Before running off to get back to his family. I return the cart to its resting place and head home. My heart is full from saving that silly bobcat. I really like this part of being in this place. The storm has subsided and dawn approaches with a renewed crispness from the wind's cleansing effect and the cool, still air. I've always loved the mornings after a big storm in the desert. The dunes are always cleaned up and there are new sand formations. I float over the camp at Ryan and I can see the lights come on as the volunteers awaken. It's such a peaceful place to camp. I really hope they love it here. I quickly head back to my spot to watch the colorful desert sunrise over Pyramid Peak as the travelers make their way to discover the beautiful bounties of this remote part of our lovely country. I think I'll go visit my sister in Oregon today. Chapter 4 Vulture's Flight. Oregon was breathtaking, and visiting my sister and the rest of my family was exhilarating. The variety of pine trees paired with the rolling green hills and swiftly rushing rivers is enough to make me wish I had passed away up there. My sister has horses, puppies, kitties, and a really sweet husband. My niece, nephew, and cousins seem to all be doing well. I hope they liked all the little messages I left for them with their kids. I'm certain they think their children are crazy. The whole family are just the most lovely people, and it's so good to spend so much free time with them. Her heart is so full, and so is mine. I wish I'd spent more time there in my physical form, but lucky for me, I can go back just by thinking about it. What an amazing ability. I really like this part of being in this place. It's been really beautiful the past few nights out here in Death Valley. It's a new moon, so the landscape is very dark and the stars are phenomenal. I can see every single planet and star. I wonder, can I float up to the moon? As I softly focus on the slice of moon pie that is visible, I start to float up towards the sky. I look around as I get higher and higher. I thought I'd be afraid to be this high above the ground, but I feel so calm and reassured. I focus a little harder and up I go. I like to slow down and look around every once in a while. This is just the bee's knees, man. I focus really hard and go straight to the moon. The sun is so little from here. I wonder if the sun can hurt me when I'm like this. I'll wait to test that one out. Can you believe I'm on the freaking moon? Far out, man. I can see the earth and it's so beautiful at night. The lights of the towns and cities look like glittery stars themselves. The moon is so cool. I guess being in this state is much like being an astronaut, except I can control where I go very easily. Guess what I'm going to do now? I'm going to dance on the freaking moon. I'm going to sing my heart out and run from crater to crater and down into the canyons and up onto the ridges. All of this while the earth spins in perfect precision in my distant view. I can feel the pull of my spot, so I focus softly to start the trek back home to my desolate hillside dwelling. Seeing Death Valley from this altitude is fascinating. The entire Panamint Range looks like a sleeping scaled lizard resting peacefully in the early morning sunshine. The ruggedness and colors left by mineral deposits have made for really interesting patterns of canyons and valleys and hidden gems such as Ballarat Ghost Town and the Wild Rose charcoal kilns. Maybe I'll spend some time over there in the next few weeks. I wonder if the ghosts in the towns can see me. Wait, am I a ghost? I can't believe I haven't even considered what I am now other than free. Maybe once I see one, I'll know. This place is full of surprises, I swear. As I get closer to my spot, I can see two turkey vultures flying through the sky, flying near each other, going fast, swooping around, very obviously enjoying their early morning flight. I focus on them to catch up and see if they'll let me play along. Our eyes meet and they immediately relax and encourage me to come along with them. Wow, holy moly, oh my gosh. I'm flying with the vultures and it's amazing. We soar, we fly, we circle, we try to see who can go the fastest and who can go the highest. This ruckus goes on for most of the sunrise, and it's extremely fun. Suddenly, they catch sight of something newly run over near the road. Poor little critter, I hope it was a painless ending. The bird starts to dive down toward the fresh food, and they crash into each other right in front of an oncoming truck that's heading their way. One of my new birdie friends was stunned and fell into the road, stumbling around and trying to gain some composure. I can tell that she isn't going to get up before the truck reaches her, so I focused hard and floated to the road in front of the truck, and I just gently picked it up long enough for the vulture to gain her composure and get out of the road. I placed the truck back on the road with the completely bewildered driver at the wheel. He'll be telling this story for years to come with everyone thinking he's crazy. I'm cracking up just telling you about it. How much fun. I really like this part of being in this place. The big birds head over for their breakfast, and as I float past them, they both come up to nuzzle my form. They are just the sweetest things. I head back to my spot to watch the rest of the golden sunrise as the vast valley slowly awakens. The sky turns to a lighter hue, and the sun is bright and proud, illuminating the wide spanning, forever feeling desert scenes from east to west, from north to south. The wildflowers are twinkling against the soft light sand, and the hills are complemented by the bold blue cloudless skyline. I think I'll go see my kids today. Chapter 5: A Wily Coyote Pup. Visiting with my children was so lovely. My daughter's home is in Oregon, and it's up in the hills, and the viewpoints of the Willamette Valley are spectacular. My sons both live out here near me, and I love that I can see all three of them in one day. They're growing into such sweet and determined people, and my grandson is a wonderful little bundle of energy. He has an amazing imagination and loves to tell stories. I love hearing them and sharing some of my own. He loves kittens and puppies, and he is obsessed with horses. He tells me he loves me and tries to nuzzle my form each time I leave. I wish I could touch him and hug him, but I'll settle for getting to share this very special time with him that I don't have to share with anyone else. I really like this part of being in this place. Tonight is very dark, and a high cloud cover shields the light of the stars from the endless landscape. If I could get scared, I'd probably get scared right now. Thankfully, I'm calm and cozy. I'm planning on going to Panamint City tonight to look for ghosts. I mean, this is Death Valley, and you'd think I would have run across someone else here by now. Hopefully, Panamint City will have the answers I'm seeking. As I dance along the mountaintops, I can see the cute little town coming into my view. Some of the buildings have corrugated metal siding that glistens in the moonlight, and the mountains looming in the background make a beautiful setting for this fun adventure. So far, I haven't seen anyone, but I did see a pack of coyotes wandering the town. They look as if they're hunting something, but I can't figure out what they're trying to find. There doesn't seem to be any other wildlife, or humans, or ghosts for that matter, so their urgency really interests me. I float to the top of a nearby miner's cabin and watch the activity. They seem to be going from structure to structure, convinced that what they are looking for is on the other side. I decide to float higher to get the entire camp into my view, and that's when I see him. There's a tiny coyote puppy playing Catch Me If You Can with the rest of the pack. Each time they get close, he runs the other way. He is quick and masterful and artfully avoids them each time. This is so adorable, I might die if I wasn't already dead. Now that I know that no one is in danger, I'm having so much fun watching this game of cat and mouse. It's really cute. As the dawn starts to set in, the little family starts getting weary, but the frisky pup has no plans of slowing down. I search the building for something to guide the puppy back with and come across a rope. I tie a knot into each end, and go out to the wild little doggy and start to play with him. His eyes meet mine, and he gets really calm but very happy. His fur looks so soft, and his markings are so gorgeous. His eyes are sparkling with renewed excitement. He grabs the rope, and we play tug-of-war for a few minutes. He's very strong and focused on winning. His family is happy because he's finally stopped in one place long enough for them to rest. I start throwing the rope, and he fetches it. He loves this game and never falls for the fake throw like all my dogs did. We carry on with this nonsense for hours until he's tired and wants to go home. He nuzzles my form and then sleepily makes his way back to his pack as they head to their territory for some rest. Playing with that puppy made me feel so joyous and free. It was so lovely to help the family find some rest for a bit while helping the puppy burn off some energy. As I float back to my spot, the clouds start to clear and make way for glorious rays of glimmering sunlight, unobstructed and proud in the deep blue of the happy, sunny California sky. I think I'll go see my nieces and nephews today. Chapter 6. Pink Elephants. My nieces and nephews are such fun people to be around. I spent 2 entire weeks visiting my little loved ones and some of their little loved ones. I never realized I had such a big family until I could freely go to each member and visit with them. The kids are insane, totally insane. It's my kind of party. I love getting to run around the desert, go to school, and watch cartoons with them. Children are my favorite part of being like this. As I settle back into my spot tonight, I can see the amount of travelers in the park have started to increase now that the weather has warmed up. The lights of the passing cars along the highway make a sparkly scene at the base of the hills, winding around in long red and white rows. They are few and far between, but they look like little fairy lights from up here. I'm feeling a little frisky tonight, so I'm going to go see what the travelers are doing and maybe play some innocent tricks on them. I really like this part of being in this place. I've been exploring the area from really high up lately and found an encampment to the south of Badwater Basin called Warm Springs Camp that I thought looked really cool. It doesn't look like there are people there on a regular basis, but maybe some explorers are there tonight. Who knows? Maybe I might find a ghost there. I still haven't seen anyone like me. Floating over the valley, I can see lots of lights. Firelights, lantern lights, headlights, and glowing windows of the volunteer cabins all along the way. Badwater Basin is enormous, and it's the perfect place to see how fast I can run now. I float to the northernmost tip of the basin and start off in a flurry, my feet going so fast that I'm kicking up dust. This must look so crazy to anyone watching. Just a line of dust along the valley floor that forms in seconds. This may be my favorite prank. And it was an accident. As Bob Ross says, it's a happy accident. I reach Warm Springs Camp, and as luck would have it, there are campers there. As I'm looking around at what I can do to spook them, I see a kid running straight to me, making direct eye contact with me, freaking out about how I need to help him. The adults in the group are really tripping out over this. I move to put myself in line with an adult so he can talk to me and look like he's talking to them. He's so upset he can't get his words out, so he gestures for us to follow him. We go north up the hillside to the opening of the Pink Elephant Mine and see that the gate has been broken. He calms down and finally tells me that his family got stuck in the mine and he needs help getting them out. Their flashlight died and they didn't mean to go very far into the mine when some rocks crumbled, separating him and his parents and 3 siblings. The adults go into a frenzy trying to figure out how to help. I float into the mine looking for the family and the rock slide that trapped them. He was right. They weren't very far inside the mine when the rocks fell. I listen close, but I can't hear them. This concerns me, so I start dismantling the crude door nature created, hoping I don't find them underneath the rubble. Once the path is clear and I see no humans, I follow the mine shaft trying to find them. I went all the way throughout and I finally find them huddled up in a corner, resting against each other and talking and laughing. My heart lifts at the sounds, and I start to wonder how I can guide them back without scaring them. They are all adults, so none of them can see me. I thought the siblings were children. Now Mama needs a new plan. I find a stick and start gently tapping the side of the tunnel. They get very quiet. I just keep tapping and start moving toward the entrance. They cautiously follow me through the twists and turns in the dark, making jokes and small talk because they can't believe this is really happening, and it's making them understandably nervous. When we reach the entrance, search and rescue crews are just arriving, and they are so relieved to see everyone unharmed. However, they couldn't quite believe the story of how they got out, and no one can explain the rock slide getting cleared. It is so much fun messing with people. So much fun. I really like this part of being in this place. As I flip back to my spot, I can see that I left a mark where I did my super fast run. There's a long line in the sand, and I need to put it back the way it was. Remember, leave no trace. I gently reach down and lightly sweep the sand back into place, making sure everything is just as I found it at the beginning of the night's adventure. Most of the lights from the travelers are out, so I don't think anyone is paying attention to this part. That's good, because I want to take my time. Now that I've finished cleaning up the mess I made, I'm going to float a little north of my spot to watch the sunrise over Schwab Peak. Funny thing, my maiden name is Schwab. What a lovely coincidence. This new dawn is spectacular. The sky is a mixture of pinks and blues and yellows and oranges. Ribbons of wispy white clouds have threaded themselves throughout the scene. This is a truly heavenly. I think I'll go visit my sister in Kentucky today. Chapter 7, Pupfish Out of Water. My visit with my sister in Kentucky was so wonderful. That part of Earth is so gorgeous in the springtime. Her house is a small cottage that's very cute, and she has a million adorable tiny barking dogs. I followed her through treasure hunting at thrift stores and helped her set up her booth at the local swap meet with ease. She has a fun and full life. Seeing her like this brings me great comfort and happiness. I can't wait to go see her again. When I was down in the basin the other night, I noticed a strange walkway but couldn't really focus on it because I was on a mission. Once the blazing sun sets over the Mojave Desert, I'll make my trek down to the quirky-looking path. I think I saw water, and I definitely saw greenery. As I wait, I can hear the travelers making camp, and I listen to their conversations. People listening is really interesting. I love getting to hear the laughter and the general consensus of people enjoying themselves. While the sun sets, I float around the campgrounds, checking out the interesting areas around my spot and watching the campers get ready to go to bed. I start to focus in the direction of the trail while remembering what I saw, and I'm there within seconds. This is so cool. I love this ability. What a gorgeous surprise this is. I see a sign that says Salt Creek Interpretive Trail, so there is water here after all, just like I thought. I walked along the beautifully constructed wooden boardwalk, crossing over the creek and through the vegetation. I'm so impressed with this place. It's so much better than I could have hoped for, just like an oasis. As I round the corner over the creek near the first bridge, I can't see water, but the grounds are filled with vegetation. I move further along the path and finally see an inviting stream of smooth and clear water. As I explore the area from above, I notice something going on down in the creek, and I immediately float down to it. It's a school of tiny fish chasing each other around and tumbling in the water like puppies. Oh my gosh. The adorableness that happens in this place should be illegal. I watch them play for hours and hours. It's so incredibly uplifting and sweet. I understand why they call them pupfish now. They play like little doggies. I decided to continue the boardwalk and head north, walking parallel with the creek for a long time. The frogs are croaking and the crickets are chirping. The wind is blowing lightly and the trees and grasses are swaying back and forth like poetry. I stay here until dawn, just being. My Bobcat came to sit with me for a short time before running off to find more trouble. I just love him so much. He's the cutest thing ever. Well, besides my cutie pie grandbaby, of course. As the landscape starts to lighten up, I start to float home, and as I travel over the school of pupfish, I see something blue in the sand. I swoop down to get a better look and see one of the pupfish thrashing around in the dirt. Our eyes meet, and he calms down immediately. I smile at him to reassure him and go about finding something to move him with. I find some promising leaves, but they're too thin, so I go in search of a sturdier way to help the little guy back in the water. Luckily, I find a piece of the boardwalk that has fallen off and head back to save my new little friend. I dig the wood deeply into the sand so that he never touches the scratchy surface. I place the piece in the water and gently turn it over. My pupfish friend slides into the creek, dashes over to nuzzle my form, and then swims off to find his family. I'm so glad I saw him and was able to help him. I really like this part of being in this place. I float slowly back to my spot to catch the very first rays of morning light. The sky is covered in small gray and white pebbly clouds as the morning rises over Pyramid Peak. The clouds make it look like the sun has exploded and has filled the air with tiny marshmallows. What a fun sight to see. I think I'll go visit my brother up north today. Chapter 8. They'll Blame the Donkeys. I returned to my spot just in time to watch the beautiful California sunset over Death Valley and the vast Mojave Desert. Even throughout my physical experience, the sky shows in the Mojave Desert have always humbled and calmed me. I really love it here. My visit to Northern California was really lovely. I soared to the top of Mount Shasta during a full moon and could see the reflection of the lunar light spread throughout all the creeks and streams in the giant Lake Shasta. My brother's doing really well and his family is so adorable. I just love them so much. I'm enjoying watching the sunset, and I have some very fun plans for tonight, but I have to wait until it gets really dark. As I watch the night sky darken, I can see the stars begin to appear like fairy lights on a velvet tapestry. The moon is a tiny crescent tonight, and it feels a million miles away, while the stars feel close enough to touch. The travelers are starting to settle down into their encampments, and the nocturnal wildlife have started to stir. I have quite a group of critters that spend time with me now. My bobcat friend has convinced his family to join in our outings, and that's really fun. Seeing a whole group of kitties running and jumping and playing all while we explore the desert is so cute I can barely stand it. It's also why I'm waiting for the travelers to go to sleep. They have more fun when they aren't being watched. I am so grateful to be able to interact with animals this way. It's so much fun. I really like this part of being in this place. Now that the dark has settled in, I thought it would be really fun to play a prank on the park rangers and the people who do research here. I'm going to head up to the racetrack playa and push the sailing rocks backwards, just a tiny bit every night for the next week, and then I'll put them back where they started. It will be especially confusing because it usually takes ice to move the rocks, and it's been very warm. It's a long-term plan for a little giggle, but what else do I have to do with my time here? It's a beautiful night with a slight breeze and a calm atmosphere. I decided to float up to Furnace Creek, over Scotty's Castle, up to Grapevine Peak, and on to Tim Mountain, and then over to check out Tea Kettle Junction before heading up to the playa for my childish game. The tea kettles hanging from the signpost are so adorable. Many different styles and colors, some new and some antique. I clank them together for a couple seconds, creating a really loud noise that is sure to awaken some of the campers in the area. I love hearing the speculations of what they think made the kettles make such clanging sounds. I bet they'll blame the donkeys. Cracks me up, man. As I approach Racetrack Playa, I can see what looks like an island of rocks in the middle of the giant dry lakes. That must be Grandstand. So I float over and check out all the nooks and crannies of this interesting rock formation. It's really neat, and I could spend all night in this one spot, poking around and interacting with the critters that call it home. But I have a mission. I float around to check out all the rocks I'll be using for my little joke. The wind has picked up, and I feel like it's joining me in my silly anticipation of someone noticing this discrepancy. It feels so good to be so playful. I go to work and painstakingly move each rock back about a half an inch, all while singing my favorite songs and dancing between rocks. You know, moving them a half an inch overnight is way faster than the rate they move forward. There will be no evidence of humans doing this. I feel like the biggest kid right now, and I'm loving it. I'm going to watch for the researchers and listen to hear what their guesses are. I can't stop smiling. The scorching sun is coming up quickly into a cloudless sky, hovering and causing many beings to shield themselves from the heat at such an early time of day. The wind is still here, and there is no breeze to be. The wind is still, and there is no breeze to be felt. The valley is already warming up to afternoon temperatures, even though the sun has barely peeked over the mountains. I float slowly home, looking and exploring different places that I haven't taken the time to really look at, and also some new areas I've always wanted to check out. As I'm dancing along Highway 190 near Furnace Creek, I see a kangaroo rat in the road. I focus and go to her instantly. She's laying down on the black asphalt with the blazing sunshine coming at her like a fireball. Her breathing is rapid, and she's struggling to move because of the heat. She's not thirsty, she's just really, really hot. Luckily, the highway has been so quiet, I find a flat rock to help her out of the road. She finally makes eye contact with me and calms down immediately. She knows she's going to be okay. What a lovely feeling. She slowly climbs onto the rock, and I float her to a place up near my spot where I know there is shade. I sit with her well into the morning to make sure she's safe while she's resting. Being able to help her brought me so much fulfillment to my heart and hope for her future. I really love this part of being in this place. Kangaroo rats don't need water, so I'm just glad I didn't have to try to get that for her. She just needs some time in the shade to cool down. I'll just enjoy the view and watch the travelers make their way around the winding corridor. I think I'll stick around here today. Chapter 9. Love Letters in the Sand. The little kangaroo rat got to feeling better quickly, so I spent the rest of that day at my mom's house, and the most amazing thing happened. I saw my dog from when I was a teenager. He was there visiting my mom, and we instantly recognized each other. It was such a blissful reunion. We floated and ran and jumped through the hills surrounding Newberry Springs. We went to visit my boys and play with Doug's dogs. He's the first ghost I've seen, so I think maybe we only see beings that we knew in our physical experience. Time will tell. I really love getting to see my puppy again. I really like this part of being in this place. This setting sun is having a hard time reaching the landscape because the clouds are extremely thick and ready to burst. Last night was still and calm and clear, and everything has shifted dramatically by this morning, and it's very cold and exceptionally windy. Good thing I'm always cozy. Cars are parking on the roadsides because the wind is so strong and is changing direction at such a high rate that no one can steer safely. The sand and wind combination are creating dust devils across the dry lake beds and making tumbleweeds dance quickly across the long and desolate roadways. I can hear the distant sound of thunder coming from the north and some of the desert critters that have assembled beside me for comfort and to watch the incoming storm. We have the best spot in the valley for what is sure to be an epic show. Hours go by, the wind calms down, and the travelers are back on the road, but the sky is still filled with large rolling black clouds and the bright bolts of powerful lightning. It's time to go wandering and see what kind of fun we can drum up. Lately, I've been drawing hearts in the sand dunes, and people are totally tripping out. I'm going to head up to Panamint Dune to put some sweet messages in the sand for the earthly explorers. I've decided to follow the route that Highway 190 takes, winding through the hills and valleys of the park to reach the dunes tonight. I'll get the tourist view. I float over Beatty Junction and Stovepipe Wells on my way through to Immigrant Camp to check out the old ranger station. I just love old stone buildings. As I make my way through the hills, I see a truck full of young people coming up the road behind me. They're blasting my favorite music and talking very loudly. It looks like so much fun. I decide to go with them wherever this silly bunch is going, and lucky for me, they're headed up toward the Panamint Dunes, right where I was headed anyways. I love it. They are playing classic rock and talking about the stars. There are two in the front and two laying on a blanket in the back of the truck. I lay down with them and agree the view of the stars in Death Valley are incomparable to anything else in the universe, and it would be really lovely to see some right now. I wonder if they can feel my energy like I can feel theirs. As we get close to the dune, the rain starts falling in the biggest droplets I've ever seen. The driver slows down because he can barely see through the windshield. He slowly pulls over to a safe spot, and the kids in the back jump up front, and they decide to sleep there for the night. I take off to see what it's like to float in a storm like this. I fly as fast as I can across the valley through the giant drops of rain, flipping and swooping, diving and flying. I'm getting really good at this, so I decide to float over to the lightning bolts and dance with them to the sound of the thunder rolling in the distance. Tonight is amazing. I really, really like this part of being in this place. As the party calms down and twilight begins, I head to the dunes to write my messages of love in the sand. I can see the truck full of young people coming up the road. As they round the corner, I see them slow down to almost a stop. Okay, now it's a stop. I focus in and see what's going on. Everyone is safe, but I can see that they're stuck in the sand. They all jump out to push the little truck through the sand, and it doesn't budge. They keep trying, and then without any effort at all, I slowly push the vehicle through the sand and over to the other side, making sure to go slow so the travelers think they are doing it themselves. They keep talking about how buff they are and how they can't believe it was so easy. They celebrate by whooping and hollering and cranking up some of my favorite tunes. I love them. Spending time with them brought me a great amount of joyousness and pure fun. Once they're out of sight, I clear the sand from the road so that the other travelers are safe. As I head back to my spot to enjoy the sunrise with my growing critter crew, I see a few other places that need clearing, so I get to work on my way home. I think I'll go visit my sweet grandson today. Chapter 10. The Lady Loves. Seeing my grandson always makes me feel so incredible. It's really fun to play with him and help him with things. I really enjoy his stories and watching over him when he takes his naps. Getting to spend so much time with him is such a dream come true. I really love this part of being in this place. Tonight is a new moon, and the stars are so bright, and they are shimmering endlessly across the satiny dark blue sky, making the Milky Way look like lights of the Las Vegas Strip stretching across the night. The traffic is slowing to a trickle, and the campers are getting settled in. I watched a caravan of travelers arrive at the Furnace Creek Resort this morning on my way out of town, and it was a giant group of the most adorable Girl Scouts and brownies you've ever seen. The entire campsite erupted with squeals and giggles when they climbed out of their cars, and immediately made my heart soar. Their pretty little smiles and adorable uniforms melted my heart. What a wonderful sight to see, and on such a lovely day. As I sit along my hillside, just taking in the expansive views of what felt like an eternal darkness, I hear the distant singing of the children and their chaperones. I remember when my daughter was in Brownies. It was such a fun time for she and I. Listening to the girls sing and giggle makes me feel giddy, and so I float over to join them. I keep a safe distance because children can see me, and with a group this big, it might cause some chaos and confusion for the adults, although it would definitely be hilarious. I float high above the group for hours, enjoying the energy and general feeling of comfort. It's fun to listen to the sounds of happiness and hear all of the stories being told around the campfire. Suddenly, I hear something go by me in the sky, and as I look over my shoulder, I can see it's a hawk with his dinner. He has a fat sidewinder snake dangling from his talons, and the snake is doing everything it can to break loose. The snake is thrashing wildly, and the big bird is struggling to keep it in its clutches. I decided to follow this calamity to see what happens. Poor snake, I hope he wiggles free somehow. The hawk heads towards Ash Meadows, where the pupfish live in Devil's Hole. I follow, and I can see the snake is almost loose. The hawk flies over Crystal Reservoir, and the snake finally breaks loose but falls right into the water. I don't think sidewinders can swim, and from the looks of it, he doesn't think so either. So I search the area for something to help him out of the water, and I'm not even sure if I can go into the water. I found a long piece of bark, and it seems sturdy enough. I quickly dive into the water and find the scared snake anxiously thrashing around, and when our eyes meet, he instantly calms down. I scoop him up into my wooden vessel, and we float up to the surface. He breathes in a deep breath, and then he nuzzles my form to say thank you. I never realized how incredibly cute snakes can be. Up on land, he gains his composure, and I gesture him to get back on the bark boat, and he obliges. I bring him back to my spot with me, thanking the darkness for covering the craziness of a snake floating through the sky on a piece of old bark. How would you explain that? Actually, that would be so funny. Also, I can go in the water. So cool. I can't wait to explore more of the waterways now that I know I can dive in without breathing. This is amazing. As my new snake pal is warming up, I'm getting settled in to watch the sky change from dark to light and to say hello to the promise of a new day and a new adventure. The sun is rising over Pyramid Peak to the east, and the kids are waking as well as the rest of the travelers. My critters are all starting to stir too. I've managed to acquire quite a hodgepodge of creatures who bed down with me each evening at my spot. Predator and prey safely sleep within reach of each other when they come to be with me. Some of them are here because of me. Everyone feels good, cared for, loved, safe, wanted, allowed, protected, and included. It's really lovely. We watch our sunrises and our sunsets together every single day. I've always enjoyed having a really big family. I think I'll stay right here today, keeping watch over the Sidewinder and just appreciating the beautiful landscape of Death Valley. Until we meet again, love, Kathy.